Okay, we'll start with 2 minutes.
Okay, I have it set up. Ready?
Let me do my intro.
Okay, do you want me to do mine again since we're starting over?
We can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for joining us again this evening. I am Inga Houston, President and CEO of the Dublin Chamber of Commerce. And this evening, we are going to visit with the candidates for Dublin Ceremony Services District. And it's brought to you in partnership with the GFWC Dublin Ceremony Women's Club. It's moderated by Gina Chanel Wilcox and Sierra Bailey with the Pleasanton Weekly, and produced by Amos. Amos is tuning in on me to help me with at the back end, so I so appreciate their help. The Dublin Chamber of Commerce convenes leaders and influencers, champions a strong and vibrant business community, and is a catalyst for economic growth. The Dublin Ceremony Women's Club are a vibrant group of women devoted to improving our community through work to support the arts, preserve natural resources, promote education, and stress civic involvement. And this candidate forum is a natural collaboration between the two organizations. I hope this evening's forum provides Dublin residents with the opportunity to learn about their candidates for public office in order to make a more informed decision when voting on Tuesday, November 8th. Tonight's program will be available to rewatch on the Dublin Chamber of Commerce and the Pleasanton Weekly's YouTube channels. Without further ado, I'll turn the program back over to Gina Chanel Wilcox, President and Publisher of the Pleasanton Weekly. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. And I am going to turn it over to my favorite co-moderator here, Sierra. She's going to do an introduction, and I will start the first question.
Great, thanks, Gina. And thank you for the warm introduction, Inga. There are two contested DSRSD races, divisions 2 and 5. Anne Marie Johnson, an incumbent and candidate for Division 2, and Arun Guel, another incumbent and candidate for Division 5, have both accepted our invitation to speak with you tonight. Incumbent Georgian von Heater Leopold is running unopposed in Division 4. Dublin San Ramon Services District provides water, wastewater, and recycled water services in the cities of Dublin, San Ramon, and Pleasanton. These are extremely important services, and we should take care in who we select to lead this organization to the future. We will begin with 2-minute opening statements. We'll ask a few questions, and the candidates will each have 90 seconds to answer, and we will close with 3-minute closing statements. So candidate Guel will begin with his opening statement, and I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you for that nice introduction and great history on DSRSD and our services. I'm Arun Goel, current DSRSD board member for District 5, prior vice mayor and council member of the city of Dublin. I've lived in Dublin for over 19 years, raising a family and 3 children. Having worked both in the public and private sectors for nearly 25 years, I have gained experience through serving as a union officer, working on policy, delivering public facilities that many residents utilize today. I share and reflect the values and interests of Dublin residents, businesses, future residents, consumers, along with the developing vision of the Tri-Valley. My primary areas of focus will be resiliency, reliability, water quality, disaster preparedness, and education. The continued development of a long-term sustainable vision for the Tri-Valley's water supply, recycled water needs, and wastewater treatments are essential and must have a collaborative approach with our wholesale partner and partner agencies. As a water district, we need to evaluate all options for our water use and needs, which can include potable reuse and desalination, just to name a couple. We cannot just depend on our current supply and do nothing. We need to have a toolbox of solutions, shelf-ready projects to take advantage of for future funding, like the infrastructure bill, develop innovative solutions while adhering to water right limitations, all in preparation for the continued dry winter seasons and the Department of Water Resource projection of reduced water supply by 2040. Consumer education focused on water conservation will continue to build on past successes of reduced water demands by more effective and essential use. For more details on my campaign, please visit arunfordsrsd.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Johnson.
So my name is Anne-Marie Johnson, and I was elected to the Dublin San Ramon Services District in 2018. And at that time, I pledged to bring fresh eyes and environmental focus to the district. So my proudest accomplishments over the last 4 years have been, one, enacting a water resiliency policy, which allows us to look forward to as far as 2045 and think about, new person, think about how we're going to plan for supply and storage. The second major accomplishment that I'm very excited about is that we started to look at our fleet with regards to eliminating diesel. And we have put some solar powered carts out at the water treatment plant as a first step on that journey. And then finally, in keeping rates low and keeping our costs intact, and passing on what findings we have had with regards to grants and other ways to help our ratepayers, keeping rates in check has been a major focus for us. So my priorities going forward: safe, affordable, reliable water, strong fiscal policy, accountability, and sound management of the water resources. And I'm proud of the district's record on the environment. I want to continue that vision. I have an MBA from Santa Clara University. I've lived in the East Bay for 29 years, and I'm a working professional. I bring experience in environmental policy and land management. You honored me with your vote 4 years ago. I hope you'll honor me again. And to learn more about me, www.electannemariejohnson.com.
Great, thank you. Well, we're going to expand a little bit on what the candidates talked about a little bit in your opening statements. And Candidate Johnson, we're going to start with you. How do you assess the area's water supply? What steps would you take both in tandem with Zone 7 and the cities the district serves to encourage better water reliability and usage within the community?
So I think you said it right there. It is going to have to be a collaborative focus. So Zone 7 is the host, is the kind of gets the water, and then we distribute, and then we treat the sewer water on the back end. So right now, obviously, we're back in a drought, and we have been urging conservation, but that's not going to be enough. So we do need to continue to look for enhanced supply and ways to use our recycled water, get us to 100% reuse in any way possible. I do think that it is going to have to be a valley solution, and that we do need to work with our partners to look at ways to get the water in the valley to stay in the valley.
And Candidate Goel.
Well, my fellow member Johnson, she said it so well. You know, it's going to be a collaborative approach. The assessment process is something that's very unique. And you know, one of my things is I focus on educating the public about what are the processes we go through to understand what is our water storage and what are our needs and what are our demands that we're going to have on the system. So one of the key things that we do as the different district and the agency, our wholesaler, is we look at the different general plans, the housing projections, the resident projections. We combine that to understand what is our net usage and how much supply do we have? Where are we getting it from? Is it underground storage? Is it through the Delta? Is it through the State Water Project? Is it through what they call water banking? And using all of that background, we then determine what are our obligations and if we can balance out the equation. It's truly mathematical. But, as a hydraulics engineer, we look at, typical scenarios of what are projections, like a 100-year rainfall storm, and how much the watershed will contribute to our dams and our reservoirs. So I think it's going to be an overall collaboration, as was stated before, and we're going to continue to evaluate.
Thank you. Moving into our next question. PFAS contaminants have been found in the water supplies in Tri-Valley communities. What should DSRSD and its wholesaler Zone 7 do to keep the water supply safe from PFAS and other contaminants?
Well, as a chemist, I think I'm primed really well to open this discussion. And it is a new emerging contaminant of concern. The treatment levels, the exposure levels, the health risks have not been fully evaluated. So the first part of it is a technical question, and the second part of it's a business question. With regards to the technical question, I think that we are actually ahead of the curve. We have been sampling, we understand where the risk is, and we have been working with Zone 7, particularly it's in the groundwater, it's not in the surface water. So we've been working with them to do blending, to in fact turn off some wells and really be mindful of sort of where we might be headed. As far as a business question, there are treatment technologies out there. This is, like I said, an emerging contaminant, but it is treatable with carbon. And I think we're starting to hear our municipalities around us, Pleasanton in particular, starting to evaluate projects that we could do collaboratively to, again, make sure that it's cost effective and that we protect the water supply. It's also important to just briefly mention that we are not the place where the PFOS originated. It is coming from other places. And so working upstream to try and eliminate the PFAS from the water supply is another step that we can take.
Thank you. Candidate Goel.
Thank you so much. This is a very prominent, popular question today. As we become more aware, I want to step back onto a recent presentation that was provided at our board. And it was kind of doing a very visual comparison for me. It's equating to 1 drop in 20 football fields is what we're talking about on a contamination level. The other thing that stood to me when I tried to understand PFAS is PFAS comes on your makeup. PFAS is in your carpets. PFAS is a very regular thing that we have, including dust particles in the air we breathe. So as a water supply, we do have to be aware of the contaminations, make sure we meet all the health requirements, and keep monitoring. But it is an evolving arena for us. As new studies are coming out, we're learning more. We're learning more how to control it. Like Ms. Johnson mentioned, she identifies a topic about upstream. So if we're truly going to worry about PFAS, we have to identify all the products that are contributing to it and how it's getting into our groundwater and becoming a contamination. We are providing solutions and monitoring the wells that provide our water, and we avoid those or blend those as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. And for this next question, we're going to start with candidate Goel. As we are in the midst of yet another serious drought, do you have a workable solution to provide recycled wastewater to residents for landscape use, as was done in prior years?
This is a very good question, and I have a very graphic image about the water supply that we have today and the challenges we're faced on. The resident water supply, a recycled water station is what we're being referenced for here right now. We did approve it at our board, but in order to be effective, we need our partners to be on board. The first solution was utilizing a land that was set aside by DSRSD. And certainly the costs were significantly higher, but you have to think about investments. The next station that was brought to us was a location that staff brought to us as far as in Pleasanton. And the issues surrounding it were a circulation issue, a safety issue, and a high traffic climate situation in a very narrow residential compound. So there's a balanced equation on the request, and I think we have to use technology to mitigate it. We don't have to use one location. We can use the Pleasanton site that already has plumbing. We can use the DSRSD treatment site. But why don't we look into solutions like online bookings? We have the technology, and we can definitely do it. It'll mitigate and address the concerns. We can take ourselves off peak and open up the secondary site. So I think we have to continue to evaluate, which we are, and we'll bring it back next year for consideration.
Great, thank you. And Candidate Johnson.
So I think Director Gorell painted the picture quite well. Let me just add a little bit of context with regards to what we're doing now. So we are in a stage 2 drought. And as we likely move to stage 3, because I don't see us going back, even as we head into the winter, we are going to make a commitment to allow some sort of a residential fill station. And the plans that we had were in conjunction with Livermore and Pleasanton, because we didn't feel that it was fair to our ratepayers to subsidize other customers. But even in that partnership, we also realized that we are using almost 100% of our recycled water currently at the water treatment plant. So we don't have water to give out. The beauty of working with Livermore and finding a site that's more centrally located is that Livermore does have water. And then the additional benefit of that is that that water will then not be just pumped over to the bay. It will be used here in the valley. So we are still looking at collaborative projects. We have staff working on it right now so that when the summer comes around again, we will have a viable solution. And to Director Gorell's point, there's technology we can use to help mitigate some of the traffic and congestion issues that were raised at kind of at the 11th hour, but still brought to our attention, still relevant, and will hopefully be assessed in the next proposal.
Thank you.
All right, we'll begin the next question with Candidate Johnson. Water is obviously front and center for many people because of the drought, but let's talk too about the other main side of DSRSD's operation, wastewater service. What is the single most important priority in your view for DSRSD's sewer operations during the term ahead?
Well, right now, I'm in San Ramon, and sewer service is the primary delivery that we give to South San Ramon. We do water, we do wastewater, recycled water, etc. So finding additional supply is probably key, because we do have contracts that will use that recycled water as soon as we can find it. So this past year, we did collaborate with Central Sands and got about 1 million more gallons a day that could be turned and then redistributed. At the wastewater plant, I think that we have opportunities in our energy consumption and the way that we use cogen to potentially get off the grid and not be as dependent on PG&E, that would ultimately lower our cost structure and then help us keep rates low. So I think with regards to our water treatment plant, just continuing to be efficient, continuing to look for new supply, and thinking about ways to be creative to get the water where it needs to go, and at the same time, keeping our cost structure low.
Thank you, Candidate Goel.
You know, these are really great questions. I commend the community for really hitting front and center. When you talk about our wastewater treatment facilities, Director Johnson said everything I can say. But I think one of the key things that we all have to stop and look at is, as we conserve and as we, flush less, what it means is you have less product going downstream. And that's the treatment that the stuff we're treating. And so that means less output, right? Less in, less out. And so we have to be proactive in looking at different opportunities. Director Johnson said it really well. You know, we're finding alternative sources of the effluents that we are going to be taking in. So the sewage treatment overall, what we need to be really focused on is the containment, the quality, and ensuring that once we're done treating, we enhance our existing supply. There are significant commitments that we have for the recycled water, which makes us at that 100% commitment level. And I think we need to continue that discussion, because in the summertime, the Valley should be proud. We barely pump anything out to the bay. And that is, commendable for all the past directors that have served at DSRSD and the different water agencies that are involved.
Thank you. And we're moving on to what is going to be our last question. We're going to start with candidate Guel. Most effects of the pandemic are waning, but the economic hit some faced with the shutdown of local businesses is continuing for many individuals and families. What is the district doing for those who have fallen behind on their water bills? Or their bills?
Very good. Well, there's a couple of different affordable programs that we do have to augment and provide assistance for what we call affordable needs, or those that have fallen behind in their payments. And recently, we did bring up for consideration what's called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, or LIHWAP. I can't even say it, the acronym, LIHWAP. And I think what we need to do is consider all solutions and tools. When we look at overall within our consumer base, there were very few. And we're talking, considering our operations, less than $10,000 worth of accounts in arrears. So it's not significant, but it's not irrelevant. We need to continue the conversations. We need to make sure that we have the best accounting practices in place. But with that, we also have a shortage on staff. So all these programs do take support staff to manage and mitigate. And that was one of the concerns that staff brought to our attention. However, myself and a few other directors felt that it was definitely very important to consider and move the consideration of this program, LIHWAP, forward. So we're going to continue to look forward at these programs and do what we can to support those in need. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Candidate Johnson.
I think as Director Goral was saying, we actually have two programs that support our rate customers that are struggling. And we also do a lot of outreach with regards to getting them on the phone, finding out what the situation is, how can we be supportive. And we fund one of those two projects actually out of our revenue that comes from our cell phone tower. So it's not ratepayers subsidizing ratepayers. The other program is actually coming from tax dollars. So we're looking for those unique opportunities. The infrastructure bill might even be another one, but we could think about sharing expenses with governments, grants, et cetera, that ultimately eases the burden on our ratepayers. I'd also like to just mention, since I have a few extra seconds, that as we come out of the pandemic, development is increasing, and part of our budget is permits and fees. But we acknowledge that our developers have been hit pretty hard, and we kept our fees very close to flat in this last year. The increase was 2% at most, because we want to make sure that business gets kickstarted, that those homes get built that need to be built, and that the economy itself starts to churn again.
Thank you. Well, that, as I said, marks the end of our questioning period. So now you will each have 3 minutes to provide closing comments. And we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order and start with candidate Johnson.
Okay. Well, I mean, I could spend 3 minutes talking more about myself and telling you why you should vote for me, but I think I'd rather spin it around and tell you why I picked DSRSD 4 years ago to be the first office that I ran for. And I know water quality is kind of my niche, but as I looked at the options that I had, and I did have more than one, I was drawn to the DSRSD because they understood the business, they had financial sound policy, and they, quite frankly, they had a vision that aligned with mine. with regards to keeping water in the valley, being environmentally progressive, thinking about their carbon footprint, etc. So I'm very excited when I was elected, and I want to continue to keep that environmental focus as we move forward. It is Water Professional Week, so you'll likely see some spots from us on social media talking about our crew, and part of our strategic plan is workforce planning and development. So in the balance of my time, I would just like to recognize our staff. I was president of the board during the pandemic. I saw the hard work, I saw the adaptation and how they served our community. And we have safe and reliable operations, and it's really thanks to them. So I just want to say thank you. Our staff has been tremendous, and I really look forward to continuing to work with them in the future.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Goel.
Well, I'm going to have the typical spiel. And Director Johnson and I, we're just like so balanced. And I think that's the real fun that I've had ever since I was appointed to the DSRSD board back in February of 21. It's been a real pleasure to serve the community in the different facets I've had. First of all, I do want to make sure to acknowledge and thank our sponsors today. Without you guys, we would not have a means or a method to really provide our platform on a dialogued basis. COVID's changed a lot of things. It's changed the way we have open platform. So, for me, for the past 6 years, I've been honored to represent Dublin and its residents, as a council member for 4 years, 1 year as a vice mayor, at the recent, 2 years on the DSRSD board. It's truly a pleasure. And for the next 2 years, I'd be proud to gain your support as someone that can be reachable to citizens. I was that way when I was on council. The Tri-Valley can count on me to continue focusing on reliability and resiliency. I don't put out a spiel. I just say it how it is. And I'll truly stand up for what is right, even if it means literally swimming upstream. We face serious challenges ahead with the continued drought and increased water demands of the region as development continues. A lot of people realized what I was doing on city council was I wanted a balanced infrastructure. I wanted to protect our resources. And lo and behold, we're spinning right around for me to be on the resource side of the house. And we're going to have to figure out the solution. We can't keep on kicking the bucket downstream because it won't flow. I'm a civil engineer, with a degree, bachelor's and master's, with a focus on hydrology and hydraulics, transportation and construction management. It's my wheelhouse. I bring a unique value-added perspective to the board, one that makes our board well-rounded. I've always had the personality that wants to jump into action. As a council member, I was passionate about policy and bringing smarter solutions to our neighborhoods. As an engineer, I have hands-on experience building projects and making our infrastructure better and safer while helping procure the necessary funding, the key to all delivery. As a father, I've intimately understand parents and children's that share the same hopes and dreams, along with the importance of our natural resources to protect our future and our water resources. Just as I did 6 years ago, I'm keeping my campaign completely people-powered. I'm a candidate in this race, maintaining a clean money pledge with the experience of City Hall. I'm humbled to have the support of the entire DSRSD board, the Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus, residents and neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the Pleasanton Weekly, I would like to thank the two candidates for participating, the Dublin Chamber of Commerce, Jody Amos Productions, and the Dublin San Ramon Women's Club, as well as the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce, that helped us with the promotion of this particular part of the forum. A recording of both forums will be available soon through the Chamber's YouTube and PleasantonWeekly.com's YouTube. And we will partner again with the Chamber on Thursday at 6 p.m. for a forum for the candidates for Dublin Unified School District. So you can find out more information about that at the Chamber's website, dublinchamberofcommerce.org, or at pleasantonweekly.com. And with that, vote on or before November 8th. And I thank everyone for patience, understanding, and participating.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.